Welcome, judges, to the 2014 District of Columbia STEM Fair. We are delighted that you will be joining us this Saturday, March 22nd at H.D. Woodson Senior High School. Students across DC have worked diligently to prepare their projects in anticipation of this event. We hope you are excited as well. This judging overview serves as a brief introduction to the protocols, procedures you will need to know in order to judge projects this weekend, focusing both on logistics as well as judging criteria and protocol. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to send those along to our judging coordinators, whose information is listed on the last slide of this presentation. H.D. Woodson Senior High School is located at 540 55th Street Northeast, Washington, D.C. Parking is readily available in the school lot as well as on the surrounding streets. Please use Metro Trip Planner to best plan the route if traveling by Metro, rail, or bus. The closest metro station is Capitol Heights Metro. Upon arrival at Woodson Senior High School, volunteers will direct judges to registration and then onto the Judges Lounge for breakfast and orientation. Judging will take place from 9 to 12 p.m. in the main gymnasium, followed by lunch. If a judge has been pre-selected to serve as a Grand Award judge, then they will be reviewing candidates from 2 to 3 p.m. Special awards will be announced during lunch unless otherwise specified by the organization. Category and Grand Award winners will be announced the following week, Thursday, March 27th, at the award ceremony to be held at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. As an Intel ISEF affiliated fair, our top grand prize winners will be representing the District of Columbia at the International Science and Engineering Fair in Los Angeles, California this coming May. Judging guidelines. Each student should be judged approximately 3 times. Each judge reviewing a student project should remember to sign off after they complete their interview. This will ensure that each project is seen by a sufficient number of judges to ascertain its potential for winning. As each judge interviews more students, he or she will be more able to accurately determine the quality of the projects in the category. Students also benefit from hearing comments by several sources regardless of the project caliber. Judges should plan on spending approximately 10 to 15 minutes on each project, giving students about 5 to 7 minutes to present the project, and then the remaining time for follow-up questions from the judges. When judging outside of your expertise, do not hesitate to do so, as you will spend most of the time discerning the student's use of scientific and engineering methods, a basic skill that crosses all specific areas. If as a judge you are personally acquainted with the student that you will be judging, it is your responsibility to notify the science fair coordinator or the judging coordinator of any potential conflict at the earliest time so that the project can be reassigned to a different judge. In addition, in fairness to participants, it is necessary to maintain the confidentiality of the results of the judging process. Judges are not to disclose in any way the results of the process to anyone other than fellow judges or the science fair coordinator. This image is the document that each student will need to have signed once the interview with a judge or an interview with a judge has been completed. Please remember to sign the document. When scoring projects, you will note that each section of the rubric is scored differently, meaning it has a different point value, some categories having more input in the overall project score than others. If you note, the interview or student interview weighs heaviest on the overall scoring outcome. The judging scoring rubric. You will note that the document is 2 pages, so it reads over 2 slides with both a science and engineering focus. Each project will be scored out of 100 points. So on the left-hand side of the document, you will see a criteria for science project judging, and on the right-hand side, you will see the criteria for engineering project judging. When identifying or scoring the document or scoring the projects, you should note that there are specific indicators under each of the different components. For example, research question has an indicator for clear and focused purpose. And so you would want to probe or evaluate whether or not a student has a clear or focused purpose as related to their project in that category area. These indicators are meant to be guidelines to help frame the scoring of each of the student projects. Here on the second slide, you'll note the indicators for student interviews. Judging criteria. So in this section, we'll discuss how we determine the winner, scoring considerations, how to judge science versus engineering projects, and team versus individual projects. When determining the winner, it is important to consider a number of different factors. It is important to maintain a balance in evaluating the project and students' accomplishments. The students should neither be given more credit than they deserve because of their age, nor judged harshly because they are not graduate students or professionals. We want to be sure you fill out your rubrics completely and not leave any areas blank, as any blank areas will be interpreted as a score of 0. Once you have finished judging the projects in your folder, hand your completed rubrics to one of the staff members located at the end of the gymnasium. Most of our staff members will be wearing t-shirts denoted with event staff on the back, so they should be readily identifiable. Things to keep in mind while scoring. High marks should go to students who are discovering knowledge not readily available. So they've gone above and beyond in their research or background research for the project. Correctly interpreting data, a clever experimental apparatus, repetitions to verify experimental results, predicting and or reducing experimental results with analytical techniques, experiments applicable to the real world, and the ability to clearly portray and explain the project and its result. When giving low marks, we should think about students who are ignoring readily available information, so not doing basic library research, an apparatus or model not useful for experimentation or data collection, improperly using jargon, not understanding terminology, or not knowing how equipment or instrumentation works. Students also get low marks for presenting results that were not derived from experimentation, such as literature research. When judging science and engineering, it is important that judges keep in mind that all projects, regardless of the number of participants, are to be evaluated primarily on the quality of the personal contribution of the student to the science and engineering and evidence. You should note that the process for judging science projects or the categories for science projects, although they look similar to engineering, are also very different, making sure to evaluate students based upon the engineering design principles. When judging team versus individual projects, it is essential that in order for a judge to be able to evaluate the level of a science and engineering of a team project, that all students in the team participate in the interview. All students on the team should have a general and specific knowledge of the project, and the judge should have the freedom or has the freedom to ask a question of anyone in the group. In your comparison of a team project with one done by an individual, it is fair to have a higher expectation of the team project regarding the overall level of effort involved. In other words, team projects have greater resources and therefore a greater capacity for more research, data collection, more time, effort, and thought spent on the project, and more analysis than someone acting alone. There must also be evidence of team collaboration among team members. In particular, the judge should try to ascertain how fully the resources of the group have been exploited. Each team member should have made significant contributions to the overall project. Grand Award winners. The first place winners of each of the categories in the senior and junior division will compete with one another by division for the first, second, and third place Grand Award. A panel of Grand Award judges will judge projects eligible for a Grand Award after lunch between 2 to 3 p.m. The first, second, and third place Grand Award winners of the senior division will represent the District of Columbia at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair held on May 11th through 16th, 2014 in Los Angeles, California. What to expect from students. Judges should expect the students to be able to identify or define scientific and engineering terms and describe any methods or equipment used during the course of the project. In addition, the students should be able to explain the processes and steps taken at each stage. The depth of these descriptions and explanations should be commensurate with the age of the student and the level of sophistication for the project. Students from all over the District of Columbia will be represented at the fair, and certainly students from grade 6 all the way through grade 12. Grades 6 through 8, students in grades 6 through 8 will be represented by the junior division, and grades 9 through 12 will be represented in the senior division of the fair. Here are some of the questions that students should be able to answer. These are only suggestions to keep the dialogue going. You may find other questions to be more useful in specific interviews. Also, when asking your questions, please remember to avoid questions starting with, "Why didn't you?" Although probing questions are useful to stimulate the thought processes of the student may not understand why you are asking such a question and take the question negatively when phrased in this way. So if you wish to ask a question of this type and probe a little further in the student project, be sure to imply the correct intent, as in, "Could you have done?" or "What do you think would have happened if you had done?" When phrased this way, the question is an invitation for the student to think about the experiment in a different way and can turn the question into a positive experience. For many students, this may be the first time that they're interacting with a scientist, and so we want to keep in mind that every student should be treated with respect or with due consideration, even if the science or engineering of the project are flawed. This is really seen as a learning opportunity for students. Please be sure to introduce yourself, be polite, and try to put the student at ease. As a judge, it is most important for you to show the students that you're both fair and knowledgeable. And that can be done a number of different ways as listed on this slide. As simple as making eye contact with the student or complimenting the student whenever they show a good idea or demonstrate some sort of knowledge or component of their experiment. This sounds simple but can be challenging at times to implement. Your best tool in judging is your ability to ask questions. Be sensitive to what the student knows. You can always ask questions that the student can answer to keep the conversation going. We ask that only one judge interview a student at a time. If a judge is already present at the project you are slated to judge, please move on to another project and then return to the project at a later time. If you have any additional questions or concerns, please contact the judging orientation coordinators or the STEM Fair coordinator, James Roundtree, whose email is listed below. We thank you for your time and look forward to seeing you this Saturday at H.D. Woodson Senior High School for the DC STEM Fair. Have a wonderful day.